Last warning. Could you be fined the moment you drive tomorrow under these new USA highway rules? Millions of drivers still don't realize the changes take effect immediately, and even a small mistake on the road could now lead to instant fines, penalty points, or serious legal trouble. The worst part is many people will break these rules without even knowing they've changed. And once you're caught, it could affect your license, insurance costs, and daily driving freedom. So, here's exactly what starts tomorrow, which drivers are most at risk, and what you need to avoid before heading on to the highway. Welcome back to USA Senior Law, your #1 trusted channel for everything you need to know about driving laws, senior rights, and legal updates that directly affect your life behind the wheel. I'm so glad you're here today, because this is not a drill. This is not clickbait. This is a real urgent update that every single driver in America needs to hear right now. Let's get into it. The first major change that's catching drivers completely off guard involves speed limit enforcement in construction zones. Now, you might think you already know the rules. Slow down, be careful, all of that. But here's what changed. Previously, fines in construction zones were doubled only when workers were physically present. Starting now, fines are doubled at all times in designated construction zones, whether workers are there or not. Those orange signs are now enough. Enforcement officers have confirmed they will be strictly issuing fines to anyone exceeding the posted limit by even 1 single mile. 1 meter per hour. That's how serious this is. If you see orange signs, treat that zone like workers are standing right next to your car. Because legally speaking, it doesn't matter anymore. The second rule change is one that is going to shock a lot of people, especially older drivers who have been doing this a certain way for decades. The rules around merging lanes on highways have been officially updated in multiple states. The old habit of slowing down to almost a stop on an entry ramp before merging is now considered a traffic violation. You are legally required to match the speed of highway traffic before merging. If you slow down and create a dangerous situation at the merge point, you can be fined, and in some cases, you can be held liable for any accident that occurs behind you. This has already started being enforced, and officers are specifically watching on-ramps during peak traffic hours. Now here's something that hits close to home for our community here on USA Senior Law. The rules around prescription medication and driving have been updated, and this is extremely important. If you are pulled over and an officer suspects impairment, they now have expanded authority to request a blood or saliva test, even if you have not consumed any alcohol. Certain prescription medications that are commonly taken by seniors, including some sleep aids, anxiety medications, and even certain pain medications, can now result in a DUI charge if they are found in your system above a certain level and your driving appears impaired. I want to be absolutely clear. You should never stop taking your medications without talking to your doctor, but you need to have a conversation with your physician about how your medications affect your ability to drive, because ignorance of this law will not protect you in court. The third rule change that is going into full enforcement tomorrow is related to mobile phone use. Now, before you say you already know about this one, let me stop you right there. The new rules have expanded the definition of distracted driving to include holding your phone, even if you are not actively using it. Simply holding the device in your hand while driving, even at a red light, even while stopped in traffic, is now a findable offense in most states. Your phone must be completely out of your hand. It must be mounted in a holder or placed in a position where it is not being touched. Officers have been specifically instructed to look for this, and the fines start at $150 for a first offense and go up significantly from there. Here is another critical update that affects senior drivers particularly. Parking rules near intersections have been tightened. You can no longer park within 25 feet of a crosswalk at an intersection. Previously, the enforced distance in many areas was 15 to 20 feet. That extra distance might not sound like a lot, but if you're used to parking in a spot you've used for years, you could suddenly find yourself receiving a fine for something that felt completely normal just yesterday. Always look for the painted curb markings and count your distance from the crosswalk before assuming you are legally parked. Now, let's talk about something that could affect your insurance and your driving record at the same time. Failure to yield violations are now being treated with increased severity. If you fail to yield to a pedestrian in a crosswalk, even a crosswalk that does not have a signal, you are now looking at a minimum fine of $200 in most states, a mandatory point added to your license, and in some states, a mandatory traffic school requirement. 3 of these violations within an 18-month period can now trigger a license review. For senior drivers who are already under additional scrutiny in some states, this is something you simply cannot afford to ignore. Let me also address something that is causing a lot of confusion and fear right now, and I want to be the voice of calm and reason for you. Some of you have heard rumors about new rules requiring seniors above a certain age to take mandatory retesting. Here is what is true and what is not. There is no new federal law requiring mandatory retesting based on age alone. However, individual states do have the right to require vision tests, written tests, or driving tests during license renewal, and several states have lowered the age threshold at which more frequent renewals are required. If you are in your late 60s or older, I strongly encourage you to check your specific state's DMV website for the most current renewal requirements, because this varies widely, and it is your responsibility to stay current. One final rule change I want to make sure you know about before we wrap up today. Following distance. The minimum required following distance on highways has been increased in guidance issued to law enforcement. The old rule of thumb was 1 car length per 10 miles per hour of speed. The new recommended and now legally referenced standard is 3 seconds of following distance in normal conditions and 6 seconds in adverse weather. If you cause a rear-end collision and it is determined that you are following too closely, you are automatically liable regardless of whether the car in front of you stopped suddenly. Do not tailgate. Give yourself space. It protects you legally and physically. Here's the bottom line. The roads are changing. The laws are tightening. And law enforcement is not going to ease into this. They are starting enforcement immediately. But you already have the advantage because you watched this video. You are informed, you are prepared, and you are going to drive smart tomorrow and every day after that. If you found this video genuinely helpful, and I truly believe it could save you from a fine you never saw coming, please do me one favor right now. Hit that subscribe button on USA Senior Law and turn on notifications so you never miss another critical update like this one. Share this video with every driver you care about, because this information is too important to keep to yourself. Drop a comment below and tell me which of these rule changes surprised you the most, because I read every single one of your comments and I want to hear from you. I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe, stay legal, and keep driving with confidence. This is USA Senior Law, and we've got your back on every road Every mile, every